Hello, joining me on Star Trek Fleet Command today. So what we're going to talk about today is how to set up, how to orientate your different explorers that you will get from the start to so basically until you get to the faction ships, and then how you should sort of progress through the faction ships with your explorer type ships. So one of the first setups that you're going to get is, well, probably the cadet setup. So you'll get these cadets very early on in the game. And these are some of the better ones that you should take forward throughout the game. Obviously, some of your stats will change, vary to mine, because obviously when you start the game they won't be as powerful, stuff like that. But yeah, so some of the first setups that you're going to want is probably this setup as your sort of this one, or alternatively you could go for Kirk in there instead. The reason you want this sort of one, the Spock setup, is knowledgeable, is so this increases the weapon damage of the ship by 12%, which is not great, but you really want the secondary ability. So increases the shield deflection armor dodge of the ship by 15%, which is really, really good. And then you got Auroras, which is increase the shields even further. And then you've got 10% boost to the abilities. Alternatively to that one, you could go with, I think, well, not that one. You could go with Kirk and swap them round, and then you still get the 15%. The difference being is that you'll get motivation, which gives health to all the officers on the bridge by 8%, and then you get the additional kinetic weapon damage. So this is a really, really good setup to run. If you have unlocked them quite early on, then it's quite beneficial if you run Scotty as well. You could run with Scotty just because he gives you a 14% whole health as well, which is not too bad overall. But personally, I would probably just stick to Spock as my first early setup. Probably this setup being the best setup. Don't sort of go off the strength score because it does vary. This is probably the best layout. Have Cadet in there. Obviously, if you're going against hostiles, like just normal red hostiles, then obviously you're going to run the hostile crew, so ignore all this. I won't go through the hostile crew, I'll do that in another video, but this is probably the best overall setup just for explorers early on. Then you're going to want to run into your sort of, that's at early stages, and then you're going to, so that's like Taurus level. So for example, this is a Taurus that I built so I could get some extra free star material from. So then you're going to run into the VAC class. I definitely recommend getting the VAC class, and then you're probably going to then start unlocking more sort of rares, more sort of uncommons and stuff like that. One of the earlier ones you're going to unlock is Sulu and Arcady. They're kind of useless, so try not to use them, to be honest, because they don't work as intended. They are kind of rubbish, but you're going to get these free. If you have to run these free, then by all means do, because these are really good officers. So if you run the free rares, put Bones as your middleman. So the reason for that is Bones 20% to officers' abilities, which is really, really a good bonus. And then his secondary is increases the defense of all the officers on the bridge, which is really good as well. Obviously, Spock is your morale booster. Mine's not a very, obviously, high level Spock, so that's why it's only 50%. That will go up, obviously, with time. And then Uhura increases accuracy overall as well, which is, again, something that explorers really excel in, is accuracy overall. So that's really, really good. Obviously, you can swap some of these around. Look, this one's a really good one to run, to be honest. Spock increases the accuracy of the ship by 15 again, beginning of each round in combat, so it has to be in combat for that one. And then hailing frequency. This one's probably the better one to run, so this sort of orientation. So when the shield is depleted, the horror has 50% chance of delaying the opponent. But that's only when shields are depleted, so that is going to not take effect for quite a long time, so just bear that in mind. So having the Doctor in is probably the best to start with at the sort of starting point. And then obviously you've got Scotty as well, who has the Born Engineer, which increases the hull by 14%, so you can have him in there as well, and it reduces time needed to repair a ship, which is not too bad. It's not a great perk, but it's not too bad. However, once you get sort of into the game, you're going to start wanting to run the morale setup. The morale setup really, there's two different ways you can do this. So you can run like Sulu, but the problem with Sulu is his morale kickoff is when the ship is getting hit by a critical hit. Sulu has a 40% chance, but obviously you're not going to get hit by critical hits every single time, so it's not a great one to have. And then the second one is ranking 5 when the ship has morale, but the problem is it never kicks because you never get hit by criticals, so it's really hard. And then you got Arcady as well, which is probably your first one that you're going to run. But again, it doesn't really work as intended. Just because if you read the stat, it says when the shields are depleted, Arcady has a 50% chance. The problem is when you get to the higher sort of levels, your shield is never going to deplete. Hopefully that is obviously the case you want. You don't want your shields to deplete, so this basically effect is completely wasted, so it's kind of useless. The second one's not too bad because it increases the obviously shield health of the ship by 14, so that's not too bad to run as a secondary sort of officer. But the one that you're going to aim for is going to be having Kirk. The reason you want Kirk is because of his abilities. So you're going to run him in as leader, and then the leader, as long as the ship has morale, Kirk gives all officers on the ship a bonus of 40% to their stats. Again, this is just because I have quite a low level Kirk. That will obviously increase depending on the level of obviously the officer that you have. And then the secondary ability, which is really where the morale sort of setup shines. Again, this will be higher the better obviously the officer. So at the beginning of each round, Kirk has a 50% chance of inspiring morale to the ship for 2 rounds, which is really good. So that is where it ties in then with Spock, because if the ship has morale, and then if you go to his illogical sort of report, it then says while the ship has morale, Spock restores shield health to an amount equal to 50% of the defense of the officers on the ship. So that's really, really good. And that's what you want to trigger every single time you're trying to trigger this ability, because then it allows your shields to last longer. It allows you to then last longer in the fight, and obviously allows you to put more damage out after that. And then you got Uhura's ability as well, which is obviously increase accuracy of the ship she's in by 50%, which is again ties in nicely. Let me just put that on. I'll change it to the Mayflower because that's what I'm using them in at the moment. So it ties it in nicely because accuracy so base accuracy, go away. Let's just run it without crew and we'll have a look at the base accuracy to start with, and then we'll see what it's like with her in it. So accuracy at the moment is 20,000 for explorers, which is still really high. Explorers do excel in having really good accuracy. And then if we obviously put the morale crew in, and of course it's miles away, there we go. So we put the morale crew in, which is so there's 2 different types of morale crew at this setup. There's this way, or alternatively you can put Bones in instead, because obviously as we've already discussed, Bones increases the defense of all the officers on the bridge by 15%, which is not that bad. That's a really good effect. That is really, really good. That's more defensive than anything else. However, I sort of prefer having a horror in, so just it depends who you have at the time. Bones is still a really, really good option, so I would recommend going with him as well. So it doesn't really matter who you put in. I think that one's better. No, that way around. So having a look then at these stats. So that's increased our accuracy by 4,000 by just putting a horror in, because obviously she increases it by 50%. Was it 50%? Yeah, 50%. So that's something that's really good to use. Increases the accuracy, and then hopefully with the morale kicking off every single battle, you won't. Hopefully shields will retain and will be used. So let's have a look here. So what we're going to do is just going to go and attack. We'll just attack this guy. It doesn't really matter. So we'll attack this one. I did set my mana off as well. So attack this guy, and then we'll read the log, and we'll have a little quick look through the log. Doop-a-doo. Shouldn't take that much. So recall, it was very low, so it shouldn't take too much to kill. So look, going through the log. So start off with first round. So it was only last 2 rounds. So it's like I say, it didn't really prove much because it didn't last very long. We need to be in a sort of stronger sort of system for this type of stuff. But I can't really show you the stats because it didn't last long enough. So it's kind of hard. Let me just reset this guy, and it goes to the lithium. Great, not what I wanted, but sure. So yeah, so that's the way to run that. Oh, for God's sakes, now I need to let's go back. Let's just use you. Thank you. Right, I hate that feature, by the way. Absolutely hate that feature. So yeah, as you can see, bearing in mind, so I'm running at the moment, this is my morale setup with the Mayflower. I'm currently not fully upgraded, so I've still got 2 weapons to go to be fully upgraded, and obviously the cargo area, which I'm not too fussed about, but I've got the weapons, which are the main things that I need to upgrade, but I'm holding off on them because I am upgrading currently to level 28, so I'm trying to save as much as I can. But yeah, that's what you want to run though. If you're running a sort of a morale-based setup, you can run this with any ship as well, by the way, so it's not limited to explorers. It just excels more with explorers because they tend to have better shields. And the reason you want to use these is to try and prolong the amount that you're actually in the battle for. So you want to try and last a hell of a lot longer. So for example, if you go to defenses, you got your deflection. So adding all the crew all together, obviously I'm accumulating 11,000 extra shield deflection, and the health of the shields as well is I'm accumulating an extra. So shield health, I'm accumulating an extra 105,000 shield health on top of obviously that's just on top of the actual ship itself, which is really good. So that's what you want to do. You want to try and maximize your health, your longevity, your accuracy when it comes to explorers, because at the end of the day, they don't have the greatest of armors, they don't have the greatest of attack. So you want to try and make the shields as good as possible. You want to make them last as long as physically possible in each round, and the longer that they'll last, the more damage that they can output into obviously a battle. Therefore, the better that they will the rewards will reap because you're lasting longer within each battle. So I've taken the Mayflower against a couple of higher tiers than I am, just to get through the mission sets. So yeah, it definitely works. It's a lot better than it used to be, as far as I'm aware. I never used to play prior to the update patch, the weapons, the ship update pack. So I wouldn't be able to tell you on that one, but with what I've read and with what I've heard of people, apparently the Mayflower is definitely a lot better, with obviously the crew setup. So this is the type of crew you want to run though for all of your explorers, even up until you get to the Enterprise. The only difference with the Enterprise, it depends who you're then attacking. You might want to run different types of crew depending on who you're attacking. So when it comes to let's go for class. No, not class. So when you want to go into like sort of the Enterprise sort of region, you're going to get your better officers like your Marcuses, your Pikes, your Monroes, and stuff like that. So you might want to introduce like a Pike if you're going against hostiles. You might want to obviously introduce a Marcus somewhere because of his shady stuff. So or shield piercing, stuff like that. But yeah, it really depends who you're going against, what you're going against, and at the time. But overall, this crew that I have on the Mayflower at the moment, this is your morale crew, and it will last until the end of the game. All you need to do is just make these get even better and better throughout the game, and they will definitely improve your game ability overall. Look out for the next videos. The next video is probably going to be on interceptors and obviously battleships. I'll put a crew in them and sort of talk through which crews to go through from early to late game, and then see where we go with that. Please leave your comments down below if you find these interesting or find these useful in any way, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've gained 2 subscribers over the last week, which is really, really good. I want to try and hit the 50 hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So we need 3 more subscribers, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Since that most of the people that are watching, 99.4% of the people that are watching the channel right now are not subscribed to the channel. So I would like to know why you're not subscribed. Please give me a thumbs up, and I will see everyone next time. Bye bye for now.